Hello everybody, today I have another LEGO review video for you all. Hooray! And this camera angle is also starting to make me realize how disgusting this desk is. But I have no time to clean it up right now because I am going to review this this recently released LEGO set. It's the Stormtrooper mech, which right off the bat, I'm just gonna say, if you know anything about Star Wars, mechs don't really make sense in Star Wars. If you know Star Wars, it's a mostly it's like futuristic, but still kind of old-fashioned type universe. Like they have spaceships and stuff, but there's still kind of like a bunch of pipes and the technology is still kind of old-fashioned because it happened a long, long time ago. So technology in order to make mechs like this, I feel like doesn't really make sense. Besides like that one spider robot from The Mandalorian season 3. Besides that thing, which I don't even know if you can count that as a mech or some sort of piloted machine like this. By the way, this is just a side note. Speaking of Mandalorian, I kind of wish they did the kind of like the Baby Yoda mech from season 3. It's kind of a shame they didn't do that. I don't know. I just feel like something like this just does not make sense at all. But I'll continue to look more into it as we go on. But let's take a look at the figure. So here is the figure in its entirety. This is all that comes in the set. And right off the bat, I just have to say, Lego, what the heck is wrong with you? Like, I mentioned in my Ghost Rider video that the mechs were getting pretty lazy, how they don't have elbows and knees. Well, so they developed this very special finger piece just for they developed this new finger piece for the mechs. They were introduced with the mechs, and they're a pretty cool piece. They have like bar clips that go down like this part of the finger, so you can click stuff onto it, and it's just I don't know. They look really organic and like actual fingers. But for some reason, on these new figures, they got rid of them and went back to the just the goofy little clip, these stupid little clip things. I won't focus on these things. Now, it makes no sense for them to use this piece, especially after making that new one that looks more like a finger. But another thing with the hands is that they just completely removed the thumb, replacing it with this one brick, which just looks stupid. And don't even get me started with the guns in this set. Like, I understand this is a mech and the gun doesn't have to look like this, but because it's a mech and doesn't really need a trigger and fingers, because the mech doesn't really need because you could just press a button in here to shoot it. You don't really need the mech to have a trigger, but it still doesn't make it excusable for it to look like this. Like, what is this? This looks like an AI generated gun, okay? What is this? Speaking of the gun, it can actually be removed. So if you really don't like this gun, like I do, you can just remove it and just leave the figure on its own. Now, another problem with these mechs is that I do not feel I feel like a stormtrooper having a mech is like the silliest thing ever. Like, why would a stormtrooper have a mech? Like, I feel like the way the Empire is in Star Wars, I feel like they wouldn't allow for each individual stormtrooper to have a mech, because not only would that cost a stupid amount of money, it also just doesn't seem very good, because, I mean, why choose this mech when a TIE fighter is just much cooler and better? Because again, most stormtroopers are on the Death Star, and there's not really any point in having a mech, and the fact that they decided to make this mech just doesn't make any sense. Okay, with the other figures like Boba Fett and Darth Vader having a mech, it makes a little more sense. Like Boba Fett, he's a bounty hunter, so he's of course gonna need a mech. And then with Darth Vader, it also kind of makes sense because like if he's gonna be fighting Jedi, he would probably want to suit himself up, but I don't really know if the Emperor would really approve of that. Anyways, getting back into the mech, you can remove the Stormtrooper, and it's a pretty basic, just Lego Stormtrooper. It's quite a nice figure. It's got a lot of nice printing on it. One thing I don't like is the new helmet design, because when put on the Stormtrooper, it kind of just looks like it's melting, and it doesn't really give him a neck. I prefer the older one because it was a lot smaller and more proportionally accurate. Maybe this one, the shape is a little more accurate, but the other one, it was like proportioned a bit more appropriately to the figure. You could also store the gun on this, like, one of the two clips on the side. And also underneath you could see this face, and it's a pretty nice face. I might replace it with a normal Stormtrooper face and like use this for something else, because that's a nice face print. And yeah, it's a very basic Stormtrooper, and again, like I said, it just doesn't really make sense for an individual Stormtrooper to have a mech. Like, why not just have a giant like machine, like some sort of giant walker, like an AT-AT, and then load it with Stormtroopers? Because I don't know, it just doesn't make sense if you think about it in the Star Wars canon and stuff like that. Also, I don't really know if this has any importance to the set or anything, but one day when I was going through, I was at Walmart, I came across this shelf. It was empty, just completely barren. And I could tell that it had the mechs on it. The Boba Fett ones and the Darth Vader ones all gone. You couldn't see any of them anywhere. Stormtrooper ones, they're still completely fully stocked to the back of the shelf. And so I feel like that just kind of goes to show that nobody's going to want a Stormtrooper mech. Especially because the Stormtrooper mech is the ugliest looking one out of the three. Like the other ones, the bulkiness at least looks organic and natural. With this, it just looks like Lego wanting to up the price point while including as cheapest pieces to make into the set in order to bulk it out so they could really sell it at that $20 price point. And it's just kind of sad, especially because, well, it is a little bigger than the Ghost Rider mech. Here's the Ghost Rider mech standing up. It's actually taller than him with. It's taller than him with. The figure with outside of it is actually taller than the Ghost Rider mech with Ghost Rider in it. But besides the height gain, there's not really any other benefits, because not only is the articulation quite hindered by the bulkiness, because you can't put the arms as high up, or it just, but also you lose the waist, so now there's no way of getting any sort of action stance. And again, without any proper knees, there's no, because I feel like the only pose that would make sense for a Stormtrooper, like an action pose for a Stormtrooper to make, would be like a kneeling, like one knee on the ground, like holding their gun shooting. But besides that, I don't know, again, a Stormtrooper mech just really doesn't make sense. And yeah, this can open up to put the minifigure in, which, by the way, I don't know why they went back to. So when they first started the Lego mechs, it was kind of open and gappy, and it didn't really have any waist articulation, but they at least had like a whole bunch of joints and stuff, so like it balanced out. Like they had elbows, knees, ankles, all that, which it kind of balanced out the poor torso. But then eventually they changed it to this design, which got rid of the knees and elbows and wrists, but at least covered up the body a little more and made it a lot neater looking, although it did shrink them down and make them a lot smaller. Then for some reason they went back to the older design and combined like the bad parts of both versions, no knees and terrible body, so now you're left with this sad attempt to try and market. Now I do feel that if Lego ever I feel like Lego is probably going to react to this properly because they've done it in previous years. I feel like they are going to quickly change it back because I highly doubt that this is not going to be, I highly doubt that Lego is not going to respond to this. I feel like they are going to eventually step in and be like, we messed up, we're going to go back to how we used to do it. So another thing that I stated earlier about this figure is that it's a very kibbly and bulky figure, even though it doesn't need to be. Especially putting it aside this Ghost Rider figure, which is quite thin and streamlined and is pretty nice and it feels like a decent weight to it feels pleasant to hold. This, however, does not. The bulkiness of it just makes it feel really clunky and awkward to the touch. And a lot of this kibble really does not make sense. Like, why would you have these two circular pieces connected with this? Like, the anatomy of this mech just really does not work. I think this was done to bump up the piece count and like up the price a little bit so it was a little more reasonable for it to be like a $20 set or however much this was. I don't remember. I think it was either $15 or $20. But as you can see with the other figures, they have like Darth Vader, he's got like he's got the lightsaber and they bulked this one up in a way that made it look good. And then the Boba Fett was extra bulky, but it still looks really good. And it also has a jetpack and a big gun, so that also kind of reasons out the price. But for obviously for the stormtroopers don't really carry around any fancy accessories or weapons or anything, so they ended up just kind of giving it this very clunky look. I do plan on upgrading it and modifying it to hopefully make it a little more interesting, but yeah, this is where it stands right now. Clunky. So I was kind of curious to see what it would look like if I did try and slim it down. So on one half, I modified it, and on the other half, I left it the same. So on one side, you have untouched, and on the other side, you have modified. And in my opinion, I do feel that the modified, all I did was just take some extra pieces off and then put this piece a little lower down to bulk up, to make it a little more proportional. But yeah, this wasn't even that hard of a modification. Like, it's not, like, all you have to do is just take all the kibble off and then just place it here. You don't even need to do it the way I did it. If you have some extra pieces, you could do it another way, some sort. I do plan on, like, maybe trying to take it apart and completely changing it, just try and completely overhaul it, just try and completely make it look better. But yeah, that's what that looks like, modified. So my overall thoughts on this figure have to be, do not buy it. It is not worth your money to get it. The Darth Vader and Boba Fett one, they do look, I don't have them yet, but I do suggest getting those ones because they look a lot nicer. But unless if you plan on modifying it or you are a hardcore Lego collector, do not pick this up. It is not worth your money. It's just so cheesy and not worth it because there's better Lego sets out there that are most certainly worth the money. But anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also go and make sure to check out my community tab because I post there occasionally as well. And yeah, I plan on making videos on the other two mechs because I feel like those are worth taking a look at. But yeah. But until next time, bye bye.